conviction. I think Dale talked about this briefly. Conviction are those deep-seated beliefs that you hang on to no matter how rough it gets. So no matter what changes in your business or in the business climate, you have these deep-seated convictions that make you who you are. And I'll tell you an interesting story about convictions. There was a guy who was a commuter pilot. He was flying a small commuter plane between Boston and Portland, Maine. And they get up around 6,000 feet or whatever, and he hears a funny sound coming from the door. And the light's flashing a little bit, and he thinks there's something going on with the door. So he says to the co-pilot, I'm just going to go check the door and make sure everything's okay. So he gets up, and as he's about to check the door, they hit a pocket of turbulence. He's thrown up against the door, and the door opens. And he goes out. This is a true story. So the co-pilot realizes, whoa, we got a problem, we got a problem. He radios in the coordinates to the tower, says, hey, we've got a pilot, I think he's fallen out, we're at this height, you know, this, whatever the coordinates they give out, and he starts to land the plane. So he brings it down from however many hundreds of miles an hour, takes it down 6,000 feet, circles back, and lands. They land the plane, he gets out of the plane, passengers are getting out, and they find the door has, you know, that ladder thing. There's the pilot, upside down, hanging on to the ladder with everything he's got, holding his head off the ground while the plane landed. That's conviction. Picture that. What do you hang on to when everything looks like it's over? He was hanging on for every ounce of his life to that ladder. That's what conviction is. And we need to know what our convictions are, because if we don't have convictions, we're just adrift in a sea of mediocrity. Convictions are the basis of your commitments, which leads to the actions that you need to take in your business to move forward. And a commitment is built on a conviction. If you don't have any convictions, you're not going to have any commitments. His commitment was hanging on to that ladder, because the conviction was, if I can just hold on to this ladder, I'm going to live to see my wife again. I'm going to live to see my kids again, you know, whatever. But he didn't want to let go of his life. Not yet. So that deep-seated belief, if I hang on to this ladder, I'm going to live, and the commitment was, I am not letting go of this ladder. And as the story goes, the emergency crews that came had to spend several minutes prying his hands off of the ladder. Can you imagine that? Crazy. Picture of conviction and commitment.